Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and welcome to this Free State Colorado interview. Today, I'm joined by Josh Metzel, Colorado State Chairman for Young Americans for Liberty, otherwise known as YAL. Well, Josh, I hope you are well, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Love to be here.
Well, Josh, to start with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get interested in liberty and in politics?
So I guess you could point to the radicalization moment of me becoming a libertarian as um, both my parents' divorce, which was long, bloody, fought out, and the state really screwed me over with that. They didn't let me have a say in anything. So I was already kind of like skeptical of things, but then the pandemic happened, nothing made any sense, and I'm like, I need to do something about this. As far as how I got started in YAL, I was in my freshman year, very first semester. Colorado School of Mines has a club fair. It's called Celebration of Mines, and I saw a table and a picture of Ron Paul. It's like, do you like this man? I'm like, that's Ron Paul. I love him. And I went and I signed up, and it's been history ever since.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Very cool. Very nice that Yale does this, has these college chapters all across the country, able to get people involved. For those of us who don't know, tell us a little bit about what is Yale? What is Young Americans for Liberty?
So I mentioned Ron Paul. Originally, we started as students for Ron Paul back in 2012. And since then, it's morphed into a broader movement since the Ron Paul campaign unfortunately did not succeed. We do campus activism, generalized activism. We do speakers. We make change. First and foremost, that's what the activism is. That's what we're going to get to about our meal plan victory here in a minute. Other than that, we work on campaigns. We help door knock, leaflet. We have a massive convention coming up. We're going to bring all the Liberty Minds together in training. We do a lot of training. And that's, I guess, the briefest explanation I can give.
Well, great. Yeah, I hear a lot about Young Americans for Liberty. YaleCon is definitely a highlight every year. So really great that there's this organization out there really reaching out to young people and kind of presenting that alternative view. Unfortunately, so many of these colleges, it's all Marxism and communism and all of these types of terrible ideas. So it's great that Yale's out there, kind of presenting that other side of the coin, right?
Yeah, and Colorado School of Mines is a very interesting campus when it comes to that. Only recently have I started seeing a lot of the communist, at least student groups popping up. Like this year is the first time I've ever seen them be properly organized and doing anything.
Wow, unbelievable. Unbelievable that in this day and age here in 2024 that there would be, supporters of this failed ideology, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. And you'd think at an engineering school where realistically you're going to go into the workforce and actually be a productive member of society, it's really funny to see these socialists here, especially considering how Mines is not an easy school. The workload is very extreme. It's well known for that. And so socialists actually wanting to work, is very funny to me.
Yeah, hopefully they'll kind of turn around a little bit, change their mind, and realize that part of the reason they have so much opportunity, why there are these high-level engineering jobs and high-level capital that is required by these big organizations, companies, and kind of big projects out there to develop our world and to kind of push humanity forward. Without capitalism, without private property, without wealth, none of those things are ever going to happen, right?
Yeah, and it's really funny because we do actually align on some fringe issues with the socialists. I mean, we can all point to some of the same problems. We differ on the solutions, um, particularly between the libertarians and the socialists. Sworn enemies.
Well, how many college campuses are there Young Americans for Liberty chapters on in Colorado?
In Colorado, so far we have three main ones. We have one here at Colorado School of Mines. It's our biggest. We have one up at CSU, and we're working on ones at Boulder and Red Rocks Community College. The Boulder one is kind of flip-floppy. I don't mean to disparage the people at that university, but a lot of them don't really have time to commit to things. So it's been difficult, but we have people there involved with YAL.
Awesome. Well, great. Yeah, I hope it continues to expand. I hope there's more chapters, at every college and that young people have that opportunity to hear that message of liberty.
Yeah, and that's what we're all about. A lot of people have not been exposed to the ideas of liberty. They've just not even thought of it because going to like a public school, it's just government propaganda. That's what it is. It's a government school spouting government propaganda the whole time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, after 12 plus years of government propaganda every day, it's hard for some people to break out of that. But we'll see. I think liberty will win eventually. It's just might not might take a while.
Yeah, it's an active process. I mean, having to not re-educate, but properly educate yourself on things like economics, history, philosophy. All of these things aren't taught in schools the way that they should be. I mean, I took college level economics and it was a bunch of Keynesian garbage. Like in real time, you could use the thought processes in class to inaccurately predict the future. My teacher was always talking about inflation numbers and real GDP, and I was giving him the next quarter of it by just doing the math because it's all fake.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about this recent victory you had. So you just had a big victory at Colorado School of Mines. Tell us about that.
So for those who don't know, Colorado School of Mines is it's an engineering school, and the focus is primarily on academics. People take that the most seriously out of anything there. And as a result, the school has not really put that much resources into things like food. And it's been a recurring problem. You can look on, for example, the Mines subreddit, various articles from the Ore Digger. And if you just talk to a mine student, they'll have something to say about the situation of food at mines. On Niche, for example, the college ranking site, we got A's in every category, academics, student life, everything except for food, which we got a C minus in. As far as how that fight went, so it started with me last year. I was involved in my chapter at that point, but I wasn't in, high leadership, I guess you could say. And it was really bothering me. I was forced to buy a meal plan, and the food quality was very bad. They force you to buy more meals than you can reasonably eat. It's unsanitary, unhealthy. There's been instances of, and these are documented instances, so mines can't sue me, of raw chicken being served to students, moldy hamburger buns, unwashed vegetables. There have been cases where rodents have been spotted in the actual cafeteria area. It's a major issue, and we needed to do something about it. And I took that as my kind of pet project. I started by talking to administration. And back then, because I was just new into YAL, I got caught in the power versus access trap, which for those who don't know, power is the actual ability to force things. Access is you can talk to the people in charge. You can have lunch with them. They'll be nice to you, know your name. But they, at the end of the day, they're politicians and they're not going to do what you say. They're going to do what they want themselves. And through that, I started the Mines Food Advisory Council to try and deal with some of these issues. And frankly, that went nowhere. They were hearing our complaints, but they weren't actually fixing anything. And they were trying to argue with us, be like, your complaints aren't real. There's no Warren Bossing say. It's, and they tried to gaslight us. It didn't work, and so we had to do something, which is where YAL came in. One of YAL's signature activities is a student rights campaign. And the process for that starts with finding the policy that you want to change, rallying support against it through petitioning, tabling, just drawing attention to it. Then you deliver that petition to the correct administrators. From there, if they don't budge, then you have some, escalatory actions you can do, marches. Generally, you do a march to deliver the petition, but you do secondary marches, phone calling, email campaigns, all of which we've had to do to achieve this win.
So, Josh, I know these meal plans can be really expensive. How much money will students be saving without being forced to purchase a meal plan?
So as it stands, meal plans are around 3,500 a semester. The prices vary depending on how many swipes you want, and they have this secondary system. They call it Munch Money. I think the industry name is like Zcash or Flex Cash, one of those two. And the way it works is you effectively give them money now so that you can go and spend it only at the university approved stores. So the convenience store on campus, the Starbucks, things of that nature. And you're just giving them the money. If you had the money to buy the meal plan, you could have just gone to those locations and paid directly. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like this is a great way for students, for families to save money and not be forced to pay for these meal plans that they don't necessarily want.
Yeah, it's really a necessary measure because a lot of people have dietary restrictions. For example, our current, as of last year, chapter vice president has lots of allergies special allergies, and he can't eat most of the food there. And when he talked to them about it to try and be like, hey, can we, work something out where you always have some food that I need available? They weren't willing to listen. And he actually got out of his meal plan. He managed to get refunded, which is very impressive. For me personally, I had issues with like the quality, the cleanliness, all that stuff. I couldn't eat there. It would make it like it made me want to throw up. And there was no real recourse. They didn't give me a refund. I eventually just started buying groceries. And so I had to pay for the meal plan and groceries, which now are so expensive because of Biden inflation. It really hurts. So we're saving people a lot of money. We're helping their health. And at the end of the day, it's a capitalist win because we're not getting rid of the dining facilities. We're not getting rid of the dining program. We are allowing people really the freedom to choose where they spend their money, a fundamental freedom that they always had and the school ripped away from them.
Wow, that's awesome. So you talked a little bit about how you kind of got some momentum going with it. So in this particular project, did you do some petitions? Did you do some tabling to kind of garner that support or kind of get some awareness about this?
Absolutely. So primarily our activities were petitioning, and we do that from a table. Occasionally we go around clipboarding. We did some mass QR code campaigns. From our like halfway through petition list, I sent out some updates to that list talking about our progress towards our signature goals and things of that nature. And some students actually replied to me with pictures of the food. And so one of them was a piece of raw undercooked chicken, and I put that on a QR code. I said, this should be optional. I put a QR to our sign up form and spread those around campus. It got big news. People were talking about it in Yik Yak. Yik Yak, for those who don't know, is like a local social media site. It got acquired and they changed the model. It's now like for universities specifically. It used to just be based on location, but it's anonymous. So those are real people talking about us, and they talk about us a lot on there, good and bad.
Nice. So you got some awareness, you got the petitions, you got tabling, and then how did you actually get the policy changed? How did you present this to the administration or the staff there? Like, what was that process like?
So it was actually a fairly difficult process this time around. This is not our first policy win, and it's not my first policy win like at Mines. In previous years, last year, through the same method, we got rid of the COVID vaccine requirement. Before that, we got rid of the COVID mask requirement, and that was all our doing. The university administrators on this runaround gave us the runaround. We had the petitions, we were ready to deliver them, and we ended up marching and delivering them to the president. But then the president told us to talk to some other administrators, and like to get this done, we assume. And they sat with us, had lunch with us, but they had no actual power. It was an access meeting. They forced us into it thinking that it would be like we can, establish our demands. But they ended up just talking to us. And granted, they heard us out. And so they can talk to other people about what we believe and what we think the solution to everything is. But nothing actually came of that meeting specifically. What ended up happening, our path to victory, so to speak, was we did our petition march. It was cut short because in order, this is an unconstitutional policy, but they have it in place. And so we're kind of trying to bait them into actually enforcing it. You have to give 3 days notice to the university for approval of a public speech activity, which our march would have been. And we just decided to send it in the morning of. But they came out with police cars on the main walkway through campus, but the president was right there. So we had said in the very, very brief approval statement that we were going to meet at one side of campus and then march to the president's office. And they just met us on that side of campus. We didn't have to march because the president was just right there in public, and we gave him our petition. And from there, he took it, delivered it to the board. He put it on the agenda. As far as I'm aware, they voted on it and approved it. Our idea to make these meal plans entirely optional. And in that process, we had to email and phone call all of the board of trustee members. We emailed, phone called the president's office repeatedly, trying to get answers, updates from him on the progress of everything, because off the petitions, we didn't know what was going on. They didn't tell us that much. Um, but I'm glad it worked out in the end. We got our big win.
Oh, that's awesome, Josh. Yeah, it sounds like that persistence, that kind of tenacity to keep asking, keep going, having that public pressure campaign as well, makes a lot of sense of why you were successful. And it's great techniques, and it's really cool to see that YAL is out there doing these types of things.
Yeah, and these techniques, they work in real politics. I mean, it's election year right now. You see people, for example, at the local King Supers next to where I live, you see people out with petitions, ballot initiatives, everything of this sort. These tactics are real. They can make real change. YAL, another thing that we do is we get people to testify, particularly on issues affecting college students. For example, we testified recently on the sensitive spaces bill that would prohibit concealed carriers with licenses from carrying on college campuses with certain exceptions for security and cops. Very, very unfortunate stuff. And that passed. The governor signed it. So, but we were there to testify. We talked to senators like Dylan Roberts. He didn't budge, but we went, talked to him, gave him our side of the story. But at the end of the day, if you can't control their reelection odds, you can't really control the politicians at all.
It's a great point. Yeah, politicians care only about one thing, and that's, furthering their career into politics, right? They all want to be
Mm-hmm.
president one day.
Yeah. In addition to that, last year, we work really closely with gun rights organizations. Shout out Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, their partner organization. We leafleted Bob Marshall's neighborhood. And as a result of that, he called the sheriff on us. There were about 4 squad cars that showed up. They didn't arrest us, they didn't talk to us, but they tailed us as we were leaving. Um, it was really scary stuff. And tyranny is real. I mean, there's a politician calling the sheriff on people exercising their First Amendment rights. And that's why we need organizations like YAL. We need people to get up and do something about it. We can't just sit there every 4 years, press a button, fill a circle, and hope that that's going to make everything right. It won't.
Yeah, 100%. It takes that citizen involvement, people getting engaged, people having those conversations with their local elected representatives, and really putting pressure on them and telling them, hey, what you're doing is wrong, or maybe supporting what they're doing if it's kind of that pro-liberty policies that we occasionally do see. So good stuff, Josh. That's awesome. What else can people do to support Young Americans for Liberty? What do they need to know about Young Americans for Liberty? Kind of what are some parting thoughts here?
That's a great question. So if you want to get involved, the fastest way is to become an official member. And I'm sure you're going to put this link in the description, but you can go to YA Liberty, YALIBERTY.org/join, become an official member. You get a t-shirt and some really cool perks. It'll make it very easy to come to our convention that way. Um, on top of that, we do professional door knocking. So we have a program, it's called Operation Win at the Door. It's about 4,000 a month base salary plus your housing, food, gas, everything is covered. It's a really great opportunity, especially in an election year. I'd recommend everyone go sign up for that. If they want to come to the convention, first become a member, yaliberty.org/join. And second of all, you can apply to come to the convention. Seats are limited at yaliberty.org/apply. Um, and if you don't want to do any of that, just start a chapter at your university. If you don't know how, you should come to the convention. We'll train you. We'll get you all the tools you need. But besides that, you could just start doing something now. Go talk to your student life office and start a club.
Awesome. Great advice. Who are some of the speakers coming up for the YAL convention this year?
So we have a lot of big ones. Confirmed, the biggest names I think would be Dave Smith, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron Paul. There's going to be a lot of celebrities, like e-celebrities, like Brandon Herrera is going to be there. On top of, I believe Glenn Jacobs was confirmed, WWE fame, and a whole host more. At the end of the day, you don't really know who's going to be there. It's going to be all the biggest names. Um, and it's really fun. It's at a 4-star resort in Orlando. By being a YAL member, you get an extreme discount. Even if you're not a member, you still get a hugely discounted stay. The dates are August 1st through 3rd. It's a weekend. I hope everyone that watches this can apply and come, and it's going to be a big blast. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome, Josh. Well, really appreciate all your hard work. Any projects you're working on? Anything coming up next?
Yeah, so our goal for School of Mines, I would say right now, is going to be working on free speech. because I mentioned that they have some policies where you're required to get approval for speech. For example, if you want to put like club signage up on bulletin boards, you have to get like stamps of approval, genuinely. They're time limited. It's a really messed up system, contravenes our rights, and there's legal precedent on that. So mines should hopefully listen to us without having to be sued. But if it comes to that, we will not back down. One of the things I learned in YAL and politics in general is double down on what you believe. Like, you don't have to sell yourself out to make someone else feel better. Be honest.
Josh, those are great words. Really appreciate everything. I hope more young people learn these lessons of liberty, and yeah, be honest with themselves, be honest with what they believe, and it's long past time for people to keep quiet about these types of issues for sure.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, thank you, Josh. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say thank you for having me.
Definitely appreciate your time. Appreciate you joining me. Good luck with everything, and keep us updated.
All right, I will.
All right, take care.
Bye, everyone.